Hello and welcome to In the Game, Qatar's first sports podcast. We have a special guest on the show today, and I'm so excited and I can't wait to get started. Amro, can you please introduce yourself and tell us what you do?
First of all, Steve, thank you very much for having me as a guest in your on your broadcast. It's a beautiful opportunity. My name is Amro Al Hamad. I'm from Qatar. I'm into motorsports. I'm the Qatar Motorcycle Executive Director. But the reason I'm on your channel today is because of the free diving. So I hold the GCC record, free diving record, and I'm an FII instructor, free diving instructors international free diving school that is based in the US. I've been setting records for Qatar since about 2012 until this year.
Oh, it's just amazing. And it kind of makes me shiver also, because it's kind of, I just try to imagine going down. What's the biggest distance that you've gone down to?
So my personal best is 102 meters. That's in a variable weight discipline. And my record dive that was unsuccessful, the last dive that we've done was last year in summer. It was nearly, give or take, 1 year ago. It was 106 meters. And it was not a successful dive because I got a blackout on surfacing. So it was not counted as an eligible record. So I would still say that my personal best in practice was 102 meters.
102 meters. How did you get involved in this? How did you even kind of consider doing free diving?
Well, there's a story that I always tell to all my students, the ones that I give free diving courses to. It all started in 2007, 2008, I think. I was invited by a couple of my friends to actually go spearfishing. And I didn't have any idea what it's all about. And I asked them, what is spearfishing? So we have a spear gun, we just free dive, and then we shoot fish that we're gonna eat. And I was like, okay, that's James Bond stuff, and I would love to do it. Apparently, these guys, I found out later that they took me with them because they could not arm the spear gun. And I told them, hey, I'm not gonna arm the spear gun until I go down and have a shot. So they told me, okay, here's your mask, here's your snorkel, here's your fins, and yeah, off you go. They did not tell me anything. So I didn't know anything about the right equipments, all the weight belts, nothing. I just saw a fish, went down a couple of meters, shot my first grouper, and since then I've been hooked with the whole idea. I just wanted, every time I went to dive, I saw like bigger fish, deeper. So I was like, I need to go a little bit deeper to catch the bigger fish. But after some time, I left the spear gun beside, like on the side, and I decided it's all gonna be records for me. How deep is it that I can go? And since then, I've been hooked with the freediving records.
And your motivation now, is it just to break records? Is it just to kind of break the records?
Well, breaking the records is a couple of months of the year. It takes a little bit of preparation and stuff, but the rest of the year, I'm just free diving just for fun, for sport, and I'm spearfishing. Definitely, we go to different places around the world to go and catch fish, and we're doing this like absolutely sustainably. So it's not like we're shooting anything that we don't eat. No, I would love to tell the people that we're actually very sustainable when it comes to this. We shoot only what we're gonna use, and I promise you that all the fish that is being used within like 2 days, 3 days from the time that we catch it.
Nice one. And so let me just try to put you back on the boat. You're sitting on the edge of the boat, okay? You've got 100-meter dive. What's going through your mind?
A lot, Steve. A lot is happening through my mind. Actually, most of the people, they will tell you that, oh no, we're just like not scared or anything. There is, if you're doing anything in life and you don't have this a little bit of fear, that means something wrong is happening. If you have that little bit of fear or a little bit of thought about what you're doing exactly, that means you actually thought it through. And that's a good thing. So before the dives, usually I keep thinking, why am I doing this? That's a couple of minutes before the dive. Or am I prepared enough? Do I feel well today? Is everything in place? was something wrong today since the time I woke up? Did I do all my routine properly? And just about like a minute to 2 minutes before the final dive, I actually go into the nothingness zone. I'm thinking of absolutely nothing from 2 minutes before the dive or 3 minutes before the dive until the dive is finished. Nothing is going through my mind, even during the way down. I'm just concentrating on the status of my body. Do I feel well? Is there anything funny happening? Is my equalizations going nice? I just feel the water going down, and I listen to my alarms. Usually for me, I don't use the watch alarm. I have something called the rurka, and it's a female sound that actually tells me where I am on the dive, like on 30 meters, 40 meters, 50, and how much time am I into the dive. So after 1 minute, it's giving me a notification, and it's even like gives me a lot of notes, like, okay, slow down if my pace is like I'm very fast, because if I'm really fast, I'm going to consume lots of oxygen. If my rate of ascent or descent is very fast, it will ask me, it will tell me that slow down. So I think of nothing except about all the information and just enjoy the dive itself.
But how do you get to a stage where you're going down and you're going to try and break your record, and you're feeling your body, you've got to go down and you're up against yourself. That's what you're up against. Nobody else, just yourself. And you're going those extra 2 meters, 3 meters. When do you tell yourself, that's it, I've got to go back up?
So you just mentioned a very good point about the challenge, or the who are you competing against? One of the hardest thing in free diving is that you're not competing against others. You're competing against yourself. So you're trying to push yourself to, I wouldn't say to the limit, or it's to the maximum that you can reach to. There's a very famous saying about knowing where the edge is. Knowing where the edge is stepping beyond that edge and then taking one step back. The ability of a human being is huge. It's unbelievable. It's incredible. We would not know our limitations until we keep testing them. So what happens during the record dives is actually we set the record depth. We just don't go down until we feel that it's the limit. So before the dive, I have to put my record announcement to a specific depth. And let's say that the organization will not let me come out from anywhere just and say like, oh, I'm gonna dive to 100 meters. No. So I have to prove that I am within 10 meters of the dives of this record that I announced. So I cannot just go and if I'm a 60 meters diver, I cannot just go and say, hey, I want to do a 100 meters dive. It's not gonna work. You need to apply proof that you actually was within 10 meters from your dive. And believe me, for me in the last couple of years, I tried as much to repeat the dives. So if I have a record dive to like 90 meters, I've done it at least like 3 times before I actually go to the record. It's good for my mental status that I know I've been there a couple of times. It's nothing new. It just happens sometimes that we do not get the time because the training days, we stop training because of the bad weather. So I have a proper schedule of which days I'm going to dive, which days I'm going to stop to rest, which days I'm going to go back and at what depth. It's a complete schedule. But the problem is there is a lot of interference from the nature that you cannot do anything about. Like if there was like 2 days continuous bad weather, so that's 2 days of my training gone that I cannot train in. So automatically it's 2 chances of me doing the depth like more than twice is away. So sometimes, you know, like the weather doesn't play a game, and this is why the schedules change. But I took this habit to repeat my record dive at least 3 times before I actually get into it.
With your record dive, how long do you hold your breath for?
So the breath, I just want to talk about something that probably was not like completely clear. It's the people always think that you're gonna do more depth if you can hold your breath longer. It's absolutely not like that. It actually does contribute, but it's not the main factor. So now asking about my record dives, it's very close to 3 minutes. But that's not the problem, because there's a lot of people who can hold their breath for way more than that. The limitation skill that you need to be actually to reach depth is not your breath hold, it is your equalization. So what happens is that equalization is actually the limiting factor for free divers to reach depth.
Right. And when, so you kind of, when do you ever run out of breath before you get to the top, or what's that like?
Yeah, so let me just explain also a little bit of a misunderstanding that people might think. It's I was free diving and I ran out of breath. So that is not the case exactly. Yes, you think you ran out of breath, but what happened is that the CO2 level has increased dramatically, and this is why you get the urge to breathe. So it's not because the oxygen finished, it's because the carbon dioxide has increased. And this is what gives you that feeling. And I could tell you, it's called an urge to breathe or a contraction. This is where your diaphragm actually is moving up and down. Just to tell you what's happening, I'm used to moving up and down all the time, and I've been stopped for a long time. So the contractions, yes, I actually start to get my first contraction on my way down, not my way up. But because I do understand that this is happening because of the increase of CO2, and it's not that I'm running out of breath, I do not react to it. And if I don't react to it, my heartbeats does not go up, and hence my oxygen consumption is still low. So it's a little bit of a uncomfortableness, yes, but if you leave it for like 3, 4, 5 seconds, it just goes away. If you react to it, this is where things start to get complicated.
Amro, how do you train for something like this? What training do you do to do these type of dives?
So it's absolutely getting to understand your body. There's a lot of training that we do outside the water, let's say apnea walking. I just hold my breath and I just walk until my muscles cannot withstand me anymore. And we keep increasing these distances. It's to train your muscles to work with a high level of CO2 and low oxygen. And there's a lot of dynamic trainings that we do in swimming pools, and it doesn't mean depth. We're not doing depth. It's just cutting the swimming pool up and down with decreased time intervals. For let's say, for example, if the swimming pool is like 25 or 30 or 50 meters, we dive the 30 meters underwater on a breath hold. You come up, you rest for 1.5 minutes, and then you do the same distance again. But this time you're not resting for the 1.5 minutes. You're resting for 1 minute and 20 seconds. And then you do it again. And then it's 1 minute and 10 seconds. And then you find out your tolerance at the beginning of the season. You probably will reach at like, let's say 40 seconds, like rest time, before you can do the full distance again. And then the next time you increase that distance. Very, very important. We're talking about training now, but we still did not get into the safety. So all these trainings should be done with a safety diver that is with you all the time, because we're going to speak later on this conversation about what are the problems that can face a free diver, whether it's a blackout or an LMC, and they're not dangerous. We will talk about it in a later stage. It's just a mechanism of your body to protect you. So if there's no safety diver with you that is like swimming with you all the way, and you get one of these problems, it can evolve to become a really huge thing. So just remind me to talk about LMCs and blackouts later on the episode.
Your motivation, what has kept you motivated with all of this? What is it that's pushed you in doing this free diving? What is it that's kind of made you, this is what you want to do?
It's just the fact that it's a challenge between me and myself. I'm not competing against anybody else. It's one of the hardest things that you actually could do is challenge yourself and see how often or how fast you develop. The collection of information, a collection of experience, and just doing it for yourself and not for somebody else just attracted my attention, and I thought I just love doing it. I just found a passion to it. Nobody was breaking my records over the years, but I was every year going up to set up the records for two things. Number one, for my country, and number one, for myself. I so much wanted to put Qatar on the map of freediving worldwide.
I saw your videos, and you've definitely put Qatar on the map for your freediving. You've done an incredible job when it comes to that, and congratulations to you. I saw in one of your videos you said that your team is very important, and I suppose we can put this safety aspect in there too. So you said that you can't do this without other people. It's a teamwork sport.
Absolutely. So people usually think a free dive is just the diver by himself. But the first rule that we teach our students in freediving courses is the fact they cannot free dive by themselves. There has to be always one body up, one body down. So if I'm diving with somebody else, I'm doing the dive and he's on the top, he's actually watching over me. So when I surface, there should be one arm length between me and him. So if I get a blackout or an LMC, he's there to actually grab me. This problems or this situation of a blackout and an LMC is very, very easy to get out of it, but it can increase from that much to that much just without the presence of somebody else or of a safety diver with you. The LMC, let's talk about the blackouts just briefly. Blackout is just a mechanism that your body has when it sees that the rate of you using oxygen has increased and you just reach that little bit on your power bar or your oxygen bar, and it says, okay, I'm taking all control from the free diver. So let me put the listening, the hearing, everything off. You're blacked out. You're just out of, are you dead? No, absolutely you're not. Is your heart healthy? 1,000,000,000%. Is your brain healthy? 1,000,000%. It's just thinking, your body is thinking like, oh, you have been like acting a little bit over the edge, so I'll take all control. Just somebody with you, a free diver with you or a safety diver can just hold you, remove your mask, and just talk to you like, Steve, get up, it's fine, you're out of the water, and you just automatically get back and you absolutely cannot remember.
The body must be a fantastic thing, right? As you said, we don't know the limits of our body.
Exactly. So Steve, actually at some stage, people thought like, that's like many years ago, they thought that a human being cannot dive below 30 meters. Oh, his lungs is gonna explode. His blood shift is gonna go crazy, and no, you're gonna die if you dive over 30 meters. Now, human beings are diving to unbelievable depth. So on the constant weight, the world record is at 130 meters, and it's for variable weight, it's 146 meters. These are unbelievable depth that if you said these numbers to somebody quite some years ago, they would not even get close to believing that the human nature can be really close to that. When it comes to breath hold, I think in 2001, the world record was something around 4 minutes. The 4 minutes breath hold we can teach to people right now. It's the abilities that we have in our human bodies is unbelievable. Trying to find out this limit or the limit of these abilities is crazy. It keeps me interested all the time. I'm not diving the same depth this year that I used to dive like 5 years ago. So I knew that there is a lot for me still to discover. There's a lot for me still to learn. There's a lot still even possible for me to develop. Yeah. And this is what keeps me in that type of sport.
I tried to hold my breath, but because I knew that you were coming on the show, I tried to hold my breath earlier on, and I could only, it was just under a minute. And I'm thinking, again, it just filled me with absolute fear to think that I was going to go down for 3 minutes and go down as far as I could, and then I've got to come back up again. And I suppose this is for many of our listeners, they can't comprehend what you do.
So let me ask you actually, Steve, a very easy question. Well, actually, it's a tricky question. What was the longest time that you've spent in water?
The longest time.
I know, even though I don't know you for many years, but I know what was the longest time that you spent in water.
Yeah.
How long do you think you spent in water?
Underneath the water or?
In water, submerged in water.
I suppose when I used to, no, very little. It's not going to be no more than 15, 20, 30 minutes, 40 minutes.
Okay. Steve, you spent, or most of the people who are watching us now has spent 9 months submerged in water. So it's embedded in our DNA. We are designed. If you get to know more about the physiology of the human body, you will find out that there's lots of science that actually tells us that we are designed to be in water. So if you, all these creases that you get in your fingers when you stay a lot of time in the sea or the swimming pool,
yeah,
these are actually mutations for you to be able to grip because you spend lots of time in the water. When you wake up in the morning and you wash your face and you get that feeling of unbelievable, that feeling of you like waking up, that's actually something called the mammalian dive reflex that got triggered in your body. Some people, when they touch the water, when they get into the sea, they feel like going to the bathroom. This is another reflex that our body has. If you know that by depth and by pressure that our organs, they actually squash to 1/3 of their size, you would know that our bodies is actually designed for free diving. If you know that on depth, your spleen actually squeezes to get more blood out to your bloodstream so that you can store more oxygen into it, you will know that we're designed for this.
Oh.
You get to understand the human body, you will find out that what we're doing is not any close to an extreme sport or a risk-taking sport. We're actually utilizing the options and the things that we had in our bodies that we did not know about.
I kind of just kind of say to people as well, the freedom that you must, when you can benefit from these things and what you put your body through, etc., etc. What's the freedom like when you're in under the water and you're swimming around and you can spend much more time down there?
It's unbelievable. So scuba divers, they can actually dive and spend way more time underwater in a shorter period than us. But our experience is completely different.
Yeah.
So we always say that like scuba divers, they dive to look around. For us, free divers, we dive to look within. So we actually dive to find out what's inside of us, not to only look around. If you see the rate of distance that we get between us and the marine life, it's way closer than any scuba diver would get. Because there's no bubbles and there's not that big size of tanks and stuff. And how close these marine creatures, they come close to us is unbelievable. Freediving is also good for photography because there's no bubbles and there's no sand going over the time. Steve, I would love to one day to teach you and introduce you to that unbelievable world. If you go to my Instagram page, you will find lots of even underwater photography.
Oh, I loved it.
We take a lot of pictures with underwater, and the picture itself is more beautiful. Of course, a scuba diver can take the picture, but without all the gear and all the equipments and all that, the pictures, they just look from a different world. And this is something else that we've been doing in the last couple of years, actually, to get into photography with my friend Errol Patina. He's an American photographer, and we travel to different places in the world to actually take beautiful pictures. And he's a super free diver as well. So that combo of no oxygen tanks, it's amazing.
One thing that I noticed with you and with your images, which fantastic Instagram account, is just unbelievable. But the one thing that I got from your images, it was weightlessness. It was just free. You were just, oh dear, and the lights and the different colors. It was unbelievable.
Exactly that. So it's just that feeling of no weight that actually it's an unbelievable feeling. I think it's the cheaper version of going to space. This is what I always tell people. It is the cheaper version of going to space. The weightlessness that you get and the freedom of moving around is from a different life. It's from a different planet. And you would not even be able to get that feeling. I don't think there's any other sport that you would get that. And the good thing about it is, as I told you, there's no equipments attached to me. I'm completely free. It's an unbelievable experience. Every single dive is an experience in itself. When I leave the dive site and just go home and before I go to bed, I keep thinking about not all of the dives, of course, but majority of them, they just leave a memory for me. Every time there's something different that I have to look at or experience. It's a beautiful sport.
You're giving me so many different your visions that you're giving me at the moment, and it's just magnificent. Especially, I was lucky enough to see your Instagram pages, and again, it was something that it was always, it worried me, and it was always a kind of, as you said, it's not really the breath, it's how you use that breath is going to be most important. I would love to go down and feel nature, and I think that's the closest that you get to nature too, right?
Yeah, it's one of the closest sports where you can experience nature in its purest forms.
Purest forms. Have you swam with any of these dolphins and things? What's the kind of things that you've encountered?
The most interesting one of them, but we didn't have a camera ready at the time, was the tiger sharks in the Bahamas. We were actually spearfishing, and we had one of these huge, and by huge I mean huge tiger sharks that approached us. It was a female tiger shark, and we had a marine biologist with us who was spearfishing with us, and he got into the water and he was like, he can read the marine animals, and he was like, that's a female, she's pregnant, and she's just curious. Probably she hasn't seen human beings before, and she's like curious, what are these human beings, like creatures, doing in the water? She kept following us for like about 45 minutes, and she was very calm. From her eyes, you could feel it's not that vicious creature that is being visioned to us in TV and in movies. It was just a calm creature that was very curious about us. Stayed around us for like 40 or 45 minutes. We were spearfishing. We felt safe around her. She felt safe. She didn't come any close. And after 45 minutes, she just went away. And I would say that was one of my best encounters that I had, or the most breathtaking encounters. One of the other encounters that we had was here actually in Qatar with the whale sharks. So I don't know if the viewers know that Qatar is the second biggest, and I'm not sure if it's the first biggest now, point for accumulation of whale sharks in the whole planet. And swimming with these unbelievably huge creatures, a lot of them in the same spot, was just an indicator, just telling us how small we are. Yeah. We always thought as human beings that we are the biggest species, we are the smartest, we are the chosen one. There are way bigger species than us, and they just live on the same planet as us.
When you went with your friends and you went spearfishing that one day, did you ever realize that this was going to take you all around the world and meet hundreds and hundreds of different new friends?
Absolutely not. During that specific time, my aim was, so actually that time I shot a couple of fish and I went home and my family was like, whoa, fresh fish. And I was like, okay, I'm going to continue with spearfishing just to bring fresh fish to the house. I didn't know that actually I'm going to love that sport. It's going to take me to unbelievable places around the world. It's going to introduce me to world champions in that field, or I would get in contact with these guys and learn a lot from them. It was just the moment of me bringing fish to the house, and everything else was just history. It just linked itself to so many events for so many years now but I do not regret any of it happening. I just love it.
And how good is sports for bringing people together? It's like, you must have friends all over the world.
Definitely. So I always had a saying that I stuck to. If we give each other enough chance, we will find that we have a lot that we have in common than this we have in difference. And sports is one of these best things that you could actually do to meet new people and just discuss with them different stereotypes that they probably had about your country, about your faith, about your habits or your lifestyle. It's amazing. Actually, we do this a lot. So Errol, the guy that actually takes the pictures, the beautiful pictures that you saw on my Instagram, we hold a freediving camp every day in Spain, every year in Spain. And it was in Tenerife for maybe 4 years. And just last year, we moved to Lanzarote, which is another island in the Canary Islands. Yeah. The aim of the camp is not only freediving. Yes, we do there. We practice every single day on the freediving camp. But for the rest of the day, there's people from the UK, from the US, from Spain, from Scotland, from other GCC countries, Kuwait, so many different people, people from Czech Republic. We all sit together for the rest of the day. We go out for meals. We do other activities together. And this gives us a lot of chance for them to ask us about the Middle East, what stereotypes they heard about us here, what we heard about it. And then we leave the camp and finding that, oh, there's a lot that we have in common, that this we have in difference. Sports is a really, really amazing opportunity for us to get closer to each other and understand each other more.
It's incredible what you're doing, and okay, we've been touching on we've been talking about the freediving, but I'm looking at all your trophies behind you. Would you class yourself as an adrenaline junkie, like somebody that just goes out for the thrill?
Since childhood, I was always finding any opportunity to get myself on anything that goes fast enough to do something stupid. So I would probably rate myself as an adrenaline junkie, but the older I got, I was more wiser about my decisions and wiser about what exactly I want to do and finding better ways to do it. So motorsports for me has been something that I've been practicing since the first time I sat behind a wheel. I was always thinking, how can I get faster between one point to the other? And just like freediving, I was getting into the more legal way of it. So I started like proper racing since 2004. It was on a very beginner level. And then I just kept picking up and finding, like turning every single stone that I can find. And I got to racing in Europe on my last years of racing. And it just happened that all this love and passion that I've put into my racing career, it just paid off really well. I became now the executive director for the Qatar Motorcycle Federation just since last February. So I'm just telling everybody who can listen to us, just really, I really believe in what I'm going to say. This is not like a slogan or motto or a Dr. Phil type of advice. Just invest on what you love and it's going to pay off. One day or the other, it's going to pay off.
It's not something that people are just going to hear you say. This is what, we have so many guests on the show and they're saying exactly the same. And we profess to say the same thing. Do something you love. I look at those trophies and I see I see those trophies, but I also see the determination and all the things that you've had to go through to be a winner, you know, and that's the thing. And now you find yourself in this wonderful business and you've got a job within the business that you're now obviously bringing that business along and you're in a position where you're helping others. And that's commendable. That is so commendable. And I know what you're doing with the free diving schools and now the business that you're in now. With the motor car racing, how much has that taken up of your life?
It's taken a lot of time actually. So I could promise you that I didn't have like the concept of having a vacation did not exist for me for so many years. I was using all my time off to whether go fly and do free diving or just go into motor racing. Even during the time I was working in the UK, I used to fly on a Thursday night flight to be able to race on the weekend and then fly back again. It took a lot of time. It took a lot of time and a lot of dedication from me. And of course, it took a lot. Motorsports is not a cheap sport. So it took a lot. It just developed me a lot in means of knowing what exactly should I do to be able to attract sponsors, because I would not be, could not have been able to make it without the help of sponsors. And it taught me a lot of discipline. Taught me a lot that I will not be winning all the time, and how important it is to keep my morale high. If things doesn't go my way, I just have to clean the dust and just go back again and try harder. And my last years of racing, I was obsessed with endurance racing, because it was not only how fast you get, it was a work of a complete team. So it's not only one driver, it's many drivers, up to 4 drivers driving together, one specific car. And it was a big test for man and machine. There's a lot of mechanics on the background that actually need to be helping you. So people look to it as an individual sport, motorsports as an individual sports. It absolutely is not. It needs a lot of discipline, a lot of team building with the mechanics and with the other drivers that you're working with, and a lot of determination and dedication that you have to give into it. It is another side of free diving. People also look at, I actually look at both sports as really close to each other. Just the time frame of a race being an hour and a half or 24 hours, and the dive itself being 3 minutes is the only difference that I can find between these two sports that I've embraced.
And in both of these sports, okay, I'm jumping a little bit here. Have you got a family? Have you got children?
Yes, yeah.
And
I got children.
And how old are they?
So my children, I've got 3 children, actually 4 children. They are 9 years old. I've got twins that are 7 years old now, and I've got a son that is 2 years old.
So the three of them are going to be, I bet they're really proud of their dad, right?
They are, and they actually are now trying all the time to learn how to hold their breath, and how is it to dive deeper. Every time we're in the pool, they're just so interested into knowing exactly like, what is it, Daddy? How can I reach the bottom? Why do I feel that uncomfortableness in my ear? How can I let this go? How can I hold my breath longer? It's amazing how they have that passion to do all these things without me pushing them to do it.
This must be so rewarding. So rewarding. And what's the future got to hold for you now?
So actually, my future, I'm not looking into setting more records. I just want to finish what I've started, and I did not finish last year. Unfortunately, during the corona, the situation that's happening now, I couldn't go to set the record this year. But I promise you, I'm just gonna do this, like go into an attempt again whenever a chance comes available on the next summer. And my aim is not to spend the rest of my life to actually do records. I actually am more into finding the right Qatari people that actually I can deliver the experience that I have to, because I can't just hold this to myself for the rest of my life or forever. I need to deliver this experience and this knowledge to whoever is going to come next after me, so they can hold the flag and just continue what I've started.
And have you got people that's coming up through the ranks at the moment? Are they setting some good dives?
So yeah, we've got without mentioning specific names, but actually we got a lot of people that actually showed very good skill and very good acceptance to change specific habits on their diving and actually embrace more depth. So they are now at, like, let's say about the 50 meters, but nothing can be hard to learn. It's just a matter of time, a matter of dedication. And I do believe within the next couple of years, we're gonna get like deep Qatari divers setting records already.
Emro, this is the first time I've met you, and I've got to be honest, you're an inspiration. And I love, you know what I love about this? I love about the podcast that we do is when we do find people like yourself and they come on the show and they show the determination and they show the passion and they tell people what they've gone through to get to the stage that you're at. And then you start giving back. You are an inspiration. And I wish I was wearing a hat right now because I would take it off to you. Because I
thank you very much, Steve. It's actually the thinking. I think it's a good thing to give back again. It's not all holding to whatever you know. Probably when I started, there was not much knowledge or experience for us here in Qatar. I had to fly to Hawaii. I had to fly to the Bahamas. I had to fly to Florida. I had to collect lots of degrees to Spain, to Italy, to loads of other places, to be able to collect all that information. Why is it that somebody has to invent the wheel from the start? I can just deliver that information and that knowledge to other people that can actually have a faster pace. Instead of them spending the time and the years that I took to learn all these things, they can pick it up in just a year or a couple of years, and then they can follow up from that point onwards.
You're brilliant, and you are a true inspiration. And I'm in some way I'm so privileged that you've come on the show to share this with us, because there's going to be people out there to look up and say, and I know there's going to be people out there to say, I can do this. This is what I've always wanted to do.
Yes, believe me, if it was rocket science, I would be the last person to be doing it. It's freediving is not very hard. It is a hard sport. It's not easy. Sorry, it is easy. It's not easy, but it's not hard. It just takes you dedication and getting to understand a lot of things and know that your development is not going to happen overnight. And the rate of development is going to take time. The deeper you go now. So for example, the time I took from 0 to 40 meters is not the same time that I took from diving from 40 to 60. It is a 40 meters or 40 to 80. It's 40 meters at a time, yes, but the time I took from 0 to 40 was way shorter than the time I took to understand how is it that I could dive from 40 meters to 80 meters. It's a matter of passion. It's a matter of dedication. It's a matter of time that you are willing to give into it. Usually, and it all, of course, depends on your mental status and how strong you have control over your mind. This might sound easy. It's not. Some people are very strong on the mind and some people are not. Can the not very strong people in the mind do free diving? Absolutely, yes. And they can actually develop their mind strength through a sport like this.
That is absolutely perfect. And if somebody has been inspired to this, how do they get in touch? You say you do a lot of lesson teaching. How do they get in contact with you? Do they come?
They can get in touch with me through my Instagram page. Usually when there's a course, usually we can do like custom course. I've got a lot of people waiting on waiting list, but we can always like set up specific courses and specific requirements. So usually majority of the course I'm giving is in Arabic, but if we get a group of English speaking people that actually wants to set a course, we can absolutely do this.
Absolutely brilliant. And your Instagram account is Amro Al Hamad.
Yeah, so it's Amro _Al _HAMAD. And people can just get in contact with us on the Instagram page. If anybody's willing to actually set a course with the specific requirements, we can accommodate it.
I'm definitely going to be coming out with you one day because I want that freedom.
Awesome.
Yeah. And honestly, I'm so privileged you come on and shared it with us today. Okay. So thank you so much indeed. Everybody, I hope you've enjoyed the show today as much as we've enjoyed it. You are an absolutely inspiration. Just keep on going out there and doing that work because it's wonderful what you're doing.
Thank you, Steve, for having me on your broadcast today. It's a great opportunity for me, and hopefully to see you soon as one of my students in the next freediving course.
100%. Thank you so much indeed. Thank you, Amro. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Cheers,
Thank
Steve.
you, everybody. Thank you for listening.